Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor, where we respond to your questions on history, culture, political philosophy, hoping for one on architecture. I like architecture, but all kinds of things that are on your mind about the way that we try to live together in a decent society.
Are we allowed to fish for questions? Said the girl who fished for questions successfully before.
Yeah, at least you caught one.
All right. So 1-0 for me. Here's one question about celebrity politicians. It's from John, and he says, since Justin Trudeau very much is a celebrity politician, can you make a comparison with two California politicians, Sonny Bono and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
One comparison is that Sonny Bono did not disgrace himself in politics. Somewhat different than Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Justin Trudeau will have to see. But in fact, there are two kinds of celebrity politicians. There are people who've somehow achieved fame in some branch of human endeavor, who decide that they're going to go into public affairs on the theory, at least with some of them, that they hold much the same concerns as a lot of other people, but because of their success in a different career, they're better positioned to bring attention to them. And then there are other people who are, Hollywood Square-style celebrities. That's probably a dated reference, but being famous for being famous, which is what Justin Trudeau was before he sought the Liberal leadership. He was famous for being famous and nothing else. There's nothing in his resume other than his birth that really brought him any level of attention.
And
now,
the eulogy to his father at the funeral. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people have given moving speeches about when their father died, and they haven't become world famous.
But he did capture the hearts of a lot of people.
Yeah, and he's done well since he emerged on the public stage, a lot better than a lot of people gave him credit for. But I feel this way when I see something. Steve Nash, the basketball player, not Canadian-born, who became a major spokesman for left-wing causes, and some people said, shut up and shoot a basketball. Well, I didn't agree with what he said, but I thought, okay, so here's a guy who's in the limelight. He cares passionately. What should he do? Just keep his mouth shut? Or should he say, hey, you know what? I can give a voice. I can be effective in amplifying these concerns. Now, again, you get a lot of people, Leonardo DiCaprio, and his concerns about environmentalism. Maybe he ought to read a book. But the fact is, that gag is stolen from the show Red Dwarf, by the way. But the fact is that I don't mind when celebrities use their fame for something more important than forcing the staff to pick the green M&Ms out of the bowl before serving it to them. It's actually a good thing. I don't mind when celebrities go into politics. I remember Jesse the Body Ventura. He was a wrestler, and then he was an actor. He's in Predator, and he's actually pretty good. And then he became governor of Minnesota. And at one point, I remember somebody saying, how could a professional wrestler become governor of an American state? Why isn't he noticeably worse than the others? Well, in the end, his governorship did kind of fizzle out. So just because you're a celebrity, just because you're good at something else doesn't necessarily mean you'll be good at politics. But then a lot of politicians aren't good at politics. So if people are good at something, become famous, become rich, and decide to try to get themselves involved in public affairs, I actually don't mind that at all. If they're left-wing, I mind their being left-wing, but I don't say, oh, boo, you're a celebrity, don't be left-wing. I say, don't be left-wing, period. But I do rather mind when people who don't seem to bring a lot to the table somehow get people's hearts fluttering and they're swooning and taking selfies, and then they acquire power without you really having any solid basis for assuming that they would have any clue what to do with it. Though again, you wind up asking, why isn't he noticeably worse than the others?
Ah, right. Maybe we'll ask that question some other day then.
Or maybe he will turn out to be noticeably worse than the others. But again, don't forget how you felt about Jean Chrétien when he was in office. For all his failings, do you really think Justin Trudeau was worse because he was a celebrity and Jean Chrétien was a lifetime politician? So by all means, if you're famous going to politics, just please try and do it with a sound philosophy, some idea of the limits of the possible, some sense of how things actually work. That is what I would really like to see. And then don't, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, go and have an embarrassing affair with the maid while abandoning your principles, because that doesn't do it for anybody.
Famous or not famous?
Yeah, famous or not famous. Don't have an affair with the maid. Don't have an affair, But also, Schwarzenegger came in and we thought, well, he must be right-wing because he's in these action movies. And then he turned out to be, pretty much of a centrist. He wasn't actually conservative on the issues. And, is California better off because he was governor? That's a very hard argument to make. Maybe he should have stayed in Hollywood.
And made better movies. All right. Well, thanks for that. And folks, if you want to play along, you may ask your question of the professor. The URL on your screen will explain to you how to do that. Thanks, and see you next time.